Welcome everybody. We are starting a new series. This series is hosted by our favorite Sandeep Bhai. Hello Sandeep, thank you for being our host. And the idea of this new series is to discuss, share the experiences that Sandeep has collected over the years, and it addresses he's excited and willing to share his knowledge about how to put Apache OFBiz and related systems in production and then maintain it through the life cycle of the systems in the production, which is interesting. We don't have a whole lot of content on this topic in Apache OFBiz community. So that's why I think it is very important. Also, I'm so excited, happy to see all of you guys here, or everybody, so many people here joining today, because you all work on many different projects and have different kind of experiences in production. There are always some kind of a problem and then some kind of a resolution for those problems. So we would love to hear your real life experiences, and then Sandeep can give his insight on what are the best ways of approaching those problems that we experience in our on our systems in different projects and in real life. Generally, we'll try to keep our client name anonymous because these videos would be shared with Apache OFBiz community. But it is not so hard and fast because most of our clients are published anyways on our website. Uh, Still, I would say to keep it simple, try to not keep your name of your client anonymous and just talk about the actual challenge, because people are really interested in those challenges in the production and how we resolve it and what are the best practices you have evolved and all those things. So this is the idea. We will try to do this episode, one episode on each day, and we'll dig deeper into issues. So we might start with some kind of very high level vision and some high level experiences, but then we can get into much more detail. We can get to really detail on how the things should be done in production. So this is the core idea or essence of this new series that we have started. So before I hand it over to Sandeep, any of you have any questions on what is the purpose of this show or anything around it? No?
No.
Okay. Now, what do you think? Because you all have worked in many different projects, are you excited, and can you think of your own experiences, your own stories that you will love to share here? Or is it mostly going to be Sandeep speaking and we all listening?
I would love to participate. There are many experiences where we work together. In fact, Sandeep has always been there with us, sorting out issues all day and night. So yeah, there are lots of experiences that we would like to connect with whatever knowledge we are going to share here together. So yeah, I look forward to it.
Awesome. Anybody else, or should I just have now Sandeep start his his show?
Yeah, this is the long journey that we have covered, and Sandeep achieved the solution for this kind of solution to solve the problems of all this deployment. So yes, I'm excited to see it.
Cool. So Sandeep, we've been having this whole thing started because of last two conversations I had with you for one of the clients, as I'm preparing for one of the client who's going to be put into production in next month or maybe 2 months, whatever it is. And we've had multiple conversations. And in those conversations, I came across many new terminologies and many new, um, processes or whatever you want to call them. And for it was challenging for me to absorb. Like in fact, in both of these meetings, after certain period, I said, "Hey, Sandeep, I cannot do anymore because you just gave me a lot of information. I need time to consume it." Right. So there is a lot of those things that you talk about. So let's start with our very high level items on what do you how do you see this whole production system? Like we set up a dev environment, a staging environment, production environment, and then give us a high level introduction of different terms, the terminology, the vocabulary that you will use during this show in future.
Yeah, and thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you all are doing well. So as Anil already covered everything, like what is our goal to making this series, and yes, so related to deployment architecture of OSBs. Uh, in this series, we will consider like how we will deploy a production architecture of OFBs, considering high availability, scalability, and disaster recovery using AWS services. And to understand this concept, we have divided this series into multiple parts. Mm. Which are I'm going to share my screen to.
Sandeep, could you please enable the touch settings so that the clicking sound is not disturbed us?
Okay, so I hope my screen is visible for you all.
Yes.
So the high level topics that we will cover in this series are reviewing Docker configuration that we will create for OFBiz, and then building and pushing a Docker image using Docker file. Then we will see how we will deploy the Docker image, and here we will use ECS service to deploy the Docker image. Then we will see how we can scale our infrastructure configured for production. For that, we will use auto scaling. Then we will use load balancer services of AWS for the balancing traffic between our cluster. Then here we will talk about the database, like which database we are going to use and how we will configure it. And then our next topic is Solar setup. And then it's always important to have a log of the production system. So we will also cover the log management. And then we have monitoring tools, like what we should monitor and how we are going to monitor our infrastructure. So we will give a detail about all these high level components.
This is pretty good. So, in fact, I was wondering, like, for me, even the Docker image, I just know that there is something that you do is basically you package something and do something with it. Finally, some magic happens. But I have very little idea about what Docker images means and all that. Can you give us a high-level view on very short view description of what Docker images are about? What is this technology about?
Yeah, sure. So, as before, uh, when we don't have any tool for virtualization, then we are using a machine. to deploy and set up our software. Then VMware concept came, where we started deploying or installing multiple OS on the single machine. But actually, it was quite heavy and required heavy configuration of machines to serve multiple machines into a bare metal host. Then Docker came in the picture, and it is very lightweight package and used for virtualization, where it make easier way to deploy and create Docker image or build any software in the easier way and deploy it on any infrastructure. So it is we can consider it as cross-platform software or VM tool that we can use on Windows, Linux. And a good thing is that if we create any image, a Docker image, then we can deploy it on any platform. It is not restricted that if we created the image on Linux machine, then we will have to, or it will be deployed on Linux only. So there is no any kind of restriction. So they
So,
actually, yes.
so back in the day, what I used to do is I would run some virtual machine, install virtual machine to run Windows on my Mac laptop. Is this
Yes.
something similar to that? It's like, one software that runs and then simulates the hardware on it so that I can install a different operating system on top of it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, so the concept of is like as you told that you used a VMware software to install another Windows machine on your Mac OS. So it do same like that, but here it don't install completely OS. Like it use just libraries of the OS, and the OS size could be of 200 MBs, yeah, 250. So and it use shared library of the bare metal OS or main OS. So it's very,
So,
and so yeah, it's very lightweight, and inside the Docker image, uh, to deploy the suppose if you want to deploy OFBiz using Docker image, then what we have uh, in the Docker file is that we will mention there that let me give a example live example of the Docker file, so it will make change or easier to understanding for the understanding purpose.
Anil, you are on mute.
while Sandeep is preparing his Docker image example, let me ask this question to the audience. How many of you have a really good, enough information about Docker, and you think that my questions are a little bit entry level, or so how many of you are enough aware of Docker to think that my questions are really entry level? Just say something on the chat on the side, so I know that these people already knew about it. So that this will allow me to calibrate my questions and make sure that those questions that I'm asking are speaking to the audience instead of me just talking about my own challenges and boring you all. Sandeep, you don't have to wait. If you are ready, you can keep going because people can put their response to this question on the chat.
Yes, sure. So here is the Docker file, which looks like this. So here what we are going to do is we are going to take checkout. We are going to take or download an image with OpenJDK 8. I hope it is visible.
Yes, it is visible. Yes.
So what we are doing in the Docker file here, that we are like mentioning all the steps that required to deploy OFBiz. So like suppose we want to deploy the origin on bare metal, then we required uh, the OS. So here what we are doing is we are downloading a OS which will come pre-installed with OpenJDK. Or we can simply, like if we have to install bare metal OS, then we can pass here like this. In the form field, we mention that which image do you want to download for this Docker image. Then here we mention what package are required to set up OFBiz. Then like we always required OpenJDK and
So,
this.
Sandeep, we don't want to go into much details of how to build the Docker image. So, let me ask you this question:
Okay.
that is it mean that once I make a Docker image, I can deploy it on any operating system, or do I have to create an image for a specific operating system?
No, if you have a Docker image, then you can deploy it on anywhere. You just require Docker packages installed on that host machine.
Okay, got it. Super. So that should answer my question. And anybody, if you want to get into the details of what Sandeep was showing about how to build a Docker image, please reach out to him, and I'm sure he will be able to. He will be happy to set up another session where we can get into more details of how to do the
Sure.
Docker image and build and discuss all those things. Right?
Yes, and in fact, we will going to discuss more about Docker configuration file in our next session. So
Got
yeah,
it.
yes. So we will cover these things in our next episode.
So now let me ask you another question. So you're saying that we create Docker image means we encapsulate our product
Yes,
into a Docker image, and then that Docker image can be deployed on whatever operating system. You start the Docker image, and here you go. Our product is up and running. Is it that simple?
yes, right.
Okay, so now I also know that in our product we have Apache OFBiz running, and then we also use Apache Solar, and then we also have a database. What do
Yes.
you do with it? Or do you put everything put together into one Docker image, or you create 3 Docker images? How does it work?
Actually, if us it's time to go with microservices and make it high available and failover. So we use actually separate containers, or we can we use separate Docker images for
Got it.
each service, and for that we can use multiple. Like there are multiple options to deploy it. Like sometimes we can use Docker Compose, which is used to bind or isolate multiple image to link with each other. And we can use Kubernetes, or as we are using ECS. So for linking them, we have multiple deployment services that we can use. But yeah, we use separate Docker image for each, like MySQL, Solar, and OFBiz, and we link them with each other to access internally.
Wow, wow, wow. So if I don't know if how many of us are able to keep track of the new vocabulary terms that I'm hearing. Number one, you talked about microservices, then you talked about high availability, and then you talked about some kind of a repository, and then you talked about Kubernetes. So there are, like, again, set of new terms. So I know we cannot cover all those in one session, but I think we will have to go into those, right?
Yes. Right.
Now, again, this could be a question for the audience that is everybody, we don't want to spend time on topics that people already know, because I am so much out of touch, but most of the people in this session are aware of all these technologies and these terms. If people are already aware, then we can definitely skip those terms and get going on to our other topic, further into our details of what we need to talk about, what is important here. So how is everybody feeling? Like, do we want to get into the details of all these vocabulary terms, or we think people can go and do their own digging, or they already know about it?
I think Sandeep, you can brief audience about the Kubernetes because it's a new concept and sort of thing. So I don't think about the rest of the terms because I am quite aware of that. But Kubernetes is quite interesting topic for the audience. So you can give a quick brief introduction about the Kubernetes.
Okay. So I was thinking that we should cover it in our next topic, or
Sure.
I can continue it now.
Just give it a brief, short, like you quickly, like you did for Docker. What is it and how we use it? So
One-liner, basically.
Yeah.
One
so
line.
Kubernetes. Actually, Kubernetes is used to manage multiple Docker containers from a single place. And where it provide like auto scaling, load balancing, and rollback plans, and many more features like alerting about the container. If anything goes wrong with the container, then it send notifications. So yeah, it's we can say it's centralized software or tool that can keep monitoring of and deploying of multiple Docker containers.
Got it. Wow, amazing.
So here we can think about multiple customers.
Sorry, please continue.
Yeah, I was saying that we can think about multiple customers where each container belongs to a customer. So let's say if we are having 50 customers, we are having 50 Docker images, and Kubernetes can be used to manage all those containers.
Just right. Yes, right.
Okay, so it's kind of like a control center, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah, makes sense. They used to call the term. In my initial days of getting into software, I heard about this term called NOC. So maybe this has something to do with NOC, right? Awesome.
Yeah, we have some questions like when I asked, should we use the same configuration for all type of environment like test, QA, UAT, and production? So yes, this is making me quite confused. So Pranay, can you please make it more clear, like what type of configuration we want to or talking about?
Yeah. Thank you for remembering my question, Sandeep. I just wanted to confirm, like, if I set up a local development environment, I missed that environment. So how is it going to be differentiating factor here? Like, we are going to talk about the automation of deployments. So how a developer joins in and how the machine is going to be up and ready for that particular developer to start the journey, and then how do you take things to the other environments? Like, what's the processes you follow for that, and if do you follow the pattern where the configurations are same or there are configuration differences, the machine configurations basically, because the capacity has to be different, right? Because the load is different. So maybe I this question should be covered up in the upcoming session, so not essential for now.
So Pranay, I think sorry Sandeep, I just because I just saw the time. We wanted to keep it at 30 minutes, so we have to take some time and probably pick up this question other day, and probably I think it's good if we conclude this session, take few more minutes, whatever time we need to conclude this session and set the path for the next one.
Yes. Sounds good.
Yeah, sure. So tomorrow, in our next session, as we discussed, we will go through these parts like reviewing Docker configuration, building, pushing Docker image, deploy Docker image, auto scaling.
So Sandeep, like you mentioned in 9 points, so each point will covered in a single session, right? So
Yes.
like today we have the introductory section, and the next session we will cover the Docker configuration file, right?
Yes, reviewing. Yes, so we will cover in our next session, which is review Docker configuration, Docker file configuration.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Cool. This is good idea because now that we will be able to publish what is going to be covered in the session, so the audience can actually decide who wants to come and join. Because if the topic is of their interest, then probably they'll come, and that way they don't feel bored or whatever. They get value out of the time.
And I
So
think what I think everybody should join this the next topic, even this whole topic, but especially next topic. Like maybe it may be a part of everyone life, because us in nowadays the Docker is very important and very widely used for deploying and managing the instances. And yeah, so if we have some knowledge around it, then it will be easy
Yeah.
mhm.
Uh,
deploy the thing.
So,
Yeah.
Sandeep, I want to mention one more point here. It would be good if you share the challenges that we faced in our earlier deployment process, and how Docker will solve those challenges in the current setup. So, if you do the comparative study or share your past experience, then what kind of challenges we faced, like for deployment, for upgrading, for auto scaling, and any kind of thing, so that would be good for the audience and they can relate their day-to-day life or their challenges with these sessions.
Yeah.
I think, Deepak, I really like your idea. In fact, Sandeep, if you can modify your agenda and focus on this topic first, so everybody can relate it to their real life. So let's come up with, let's talk about the challenges that you think Docker is going to solve for us, and let's come discuss all those challenges, and everybody can, think about their own experiences and they can discuss. So maybe we will have a good library of different problems that we have faced in our life, and hopefully Docker will help us resolve that, and then you can map it to the solutions.
Yeah, sure, sure. For tomorrow, for our next session, I have added a point and which will be covered like discuss challenges that we had before Docker, and
Yeah.
I will make a list and try to collect all the data in format of doc. So yeah, I can share that with you all.
Yes, so it will be from your side as well as the user side as well. Then how they face their challenges while deployment, while requesting and debugging and all sorts of. So it will be kind of a discussion session along with admin team and their users.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
if anyone using the Jenkins for deploying, or if anyone get chance to see this, then they can compare and let us know their experience and share.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Perfect.
Great.
Good. So Sandeep, thank you very much, and let's try to do what we can to keep the session interesting, so we get the repeat audience.
Yes.
And audience, we would be really first I want to thank you all for coming, and we would love to see you back here. Also, one of the values that this session will bring to you is that if you tell us about your experiences, then hopefully Sandeep will help us learn something from it, and maybe he will tell us something that you might learn also, and might help you do things better in future. If nothing, then at least all audience, everybody together, we can learn something from each other's experiences.
Right.
Awesome. So this is good. Before we sign off, any final question or something anybody wants to say? Cool. Looks good. So once again, thanks everybody, and we will end this session now. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye everyone.
Thank you.